over to you now. Thank you very much. Having listened to what they have said from the speaker from Imani till now, in the field of sanitation, in my view, three major things. One, monopoly. Two, corruption. And three, non-enforcement of the laws. Monopoly, we recently hear an ad on radio and TV from Kassem that according to Kassem, one brand of cement or one grade of cement should not be used for all jobs. And Kassem came to this conclusion almost after 50 years of this operation here. And Kassem had to innovate and be creative because of competition. When we talk about sanitation in this country, we speak, trying to go around it, but let's face the reality. And let's go beyond Accra. One group of company enjoys almost all the monopoly in government contracts here. Last year, for instance, I had an opportunity to do a comprehensive documentary on sanitation. I traveled to all the 10 regions of this country, and I visited 53 metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. And so I know what I'm talking about. Let's look at these JIDA workers we are talking about. And if anybody tells you there's not enough investment in sanitation in this country, it's not true. From 2006 till June this year, when this model, they say they will review the contract. That single contract alone would have cost the nation 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. 2.2 billion Ghana cedis, that's sweepers. The arrangement is in such a way that 80% of the amount, it used to be 86% when it first started. 80% of that money should go to the service provider. So that 20% will go to the workers. And so now is that service provider. So you're talking about 1.8 billion Ghana cedis going to the service provider and 400 million cedis going to the workers over the 10 years. Now the question is, you go out there to the streets, you find the people, some don't even come. So you ask, why are your police not coming to street? They say, well, 100 cities at the end of the month, people think it's not worth it. So they don't come to street. So the streets are dirty. And Mayor just said something very interesting, that they don't control the workers. I went to Manasseh, KMA. On paper, they had about 1,749 people who are supposed to be sweepers under the Youth Employment Agency. But KMA has decided to now use its own internally generated funds to employ about 300 people who sweep the central business districts, the lorry parks, and the Manasseh Central Markets, where you can call the citadel of solid goods. And this money I'm talking about does not come from the Youth Employment Agency. The money is deducted from the District Assembly's Common Fund. So the payment comes from the district. Your money is used to employ some people. You have the capacity to supervise them to shoot. Yet in someone's wisdom, let's give those people, let's hand them over to someone else. And they claim it's 45,000 people. Let's give it to someone else. At the end of every month, the arrangement says each person should be allocated 500 Ghana cedis.
Azure, I agree you should, but what should we do? Some of us.
Yes, so what we have to do, we should stop it. Everybody is saying that they have the capacity to control it. So take these workers from the service providers. They say they will review it, whether Zuna wins it or whoever wins it. That should be the situation. The assemblies are what it takes to manage these issues. So for me, that's one of them. Two, we should find a way of also breaking the monopoly and let the assemblies do some of the work. If you're looking at the contracts I'm talking about nationwide, you have YA sweepers. It's one contract. We have the sanitation improvement package. That's after the sweeper put it in the containers. Another contract is also there. We have the final disposal side where they put it there. There's another contract to manage. Can you say we should stop all of this just let me finish. We have the sanitation gas. A lot of people complain that the some of gold have disappeared, and because of that, we don't have people to go to the gold markets and enforce sanitation issues. But there is also a contract for that. They call it the sanitation gas. We have engaged, we have NAMCO, we have Ministry of Local Governments awarding so many contracts. And all of these contracts I'm talking about goes to one subsidy or one group of companies. Now, do the assemblies have what it takes to be able to manage the summer or the sanitation gas? The question is yes. If they can, why can the assemblies manage them? Two, we talk about, and I'm going beyond Accra, there are a lot of assemblies that don't have any source of funding apart from the district assemblies common fund. So you go to the assemblies and the sanitation departments, some don't even have bicycles. Yet there are so many contracts for which the assemblies are deducted. Their monies are deducted and paid. Which monies could go to the assemblies? So the sanitation departments can take charge of these projects. We also talk about some problems such as the coal landfills. We have failed to also touch on the most critical thing about the coal landfills. Apart from the fact that the distance is a problem, I was there last year with my camera crew and we spent more than 3 hours at the coal landfill site. And all the 3 hours we spent there, we realized that trucks, tricycles were all stuck. They were queuing to dispose of their waste. So somebody can go there within an hour, but you may have to queue for more than 3 hours to be able to dispose your waste. What is the main challenge there? It's about poor management of the place. Who owns it? Who runs it? Zoomlion runs it. We asked the assembly officials, and what they said was that the World Bank funded the construction of the site and added equipment. And I'm putting the sanitation officer, director of the Tema Metropolitan Assembly, Engineer Solomon Lord. He said the place was given to them to manage, it came with equipment. But there was an order from above that the landfills should be handed over to Zoomlion to manage. And in his own words, the place is being mismanaged.
And you have an idea what can be done. Sorry, but
Let's hear the solution.
based on all the things you've done, is there some idea about the solutions that you have?
The solution that we should bring us the solution is this. We also have the Manasseh landfills site. We also have the Manasseh landfill site, which is also managed by a private manager.
Solution. That's the solution.
I'm telling you the solution.
Now. Solution now.
I am telling you the solution. I'm saying that you have a problem here which you claim there are issues. And I'm taking you to another place where the place is well kept. So we don't lack expertise in managing landfills. When we went to the Manasseh landfill site, every single day there is a tipping phase. While the trucks are uploading, there is level compacting, there is a tipper which fetches sand, covers it. So if the whole of this stage is a landfill site of Manasseh, on the day we went there, about that corner was the working phase. We could drive our vehicle all around. So the question is, do we have the capacity? Let us give the words to the right
So you
people.
should break the monopoly
Break the monopoly
of Zoomlion.
or Zoomlion. And at the end of the day, whoever gets the job should be asked to do the right thing.
Yeah, I think a bit more of the monitoring. I don't need to speak for anybody, but I'm trying to get the solution out of it. Now, the city, let's say the mayor, should just be the one to make sure the place works. Like the man said.
When we went to Tema Metropolitan Assembly, they don't control that.
So that's what the solution should be. The Metropolitan Assembly should control.
They should control it. And it's as simple as that. Whoever is in charge of the landfill should have the capacity.
Mike, please.
Because in Manasseh, let me tell you, in Manasseh, we have just an emotion.
Please, stop the literature review. Stop the literature review.
We straight into areas that are not the best.
I don't think that, but
Let me make the point very clear. Solution two, we want all the workers to be sweepers to go back to their samples. And that's how I designed. I think I should say, I designed the protocol. I designed the sanitation module.
excuse me,
I designed the initial 2-year contract as a part of the program. All the workers were currently under the new appointment program. And they I think they should go back.
so the district should not control,
Over that direction.
but they will use private sector people. The district should control. Yeah,
The district should control the sweepers.
you hear that? And then the landfill, the district should control the management of the landfill.
No. That whole thing is controlled by the ministry. That has to do all the terms and conditions of the management contract that will be given to the cleaning service provider. This are the rules for Zuka. That's what we agree.
So the Ministry of Sanitation will control landfills and control who manages them. And the district will control sweepers. But Azure, you were saying in Kumasi, the district assembly.
When you go to KMA, they have an official from the KMA, yes, who is there, day in, day out, and they have a say in what work is done and what is not done.
So are you proposing the district, like KMA, should have a say in landfill management?
Management, then if you go to Tema, the Metropolitan Assembly in Tema should have a say in how the landfill is managed. If it's managed well, they should have a say. I have evidence. I have evidence. That the solution that I'm proposing. If the office of the president is asking the Ministry of Finance to pay for work done on the landfills, how can we have a solution? That's what I'm saying. The payment, the order for payment, whether or not something should pay, should come from the assembly where the work is done. So when we cut all these barriers, we have to play ball on top of the assembly. Nothing is going to happen.
We are there, we need to hear all the examples. The landfill site is at home and not even. So we cannot say that even TMA should have the same. And number two, that is the landfill site for the whole of Accra. That's where I dispose of my waste and then that the whole of Greater Accra. That's where we dispose of our waste. So by citing it within your jurisdiction, that's not necessarily give you the control. We need a higher body to have control over it, and that has control over it. When you talk about public place, as much as we have the YEA sweepers, every assembly, please, every assembly have recruited their additional sweepers. Because if the YEA officials are not available for one day or not, and we don't have our people, Accra will be dirty.
Thank you.
The Central Business District alone, I have 300 lepers. The Central Business, I'm not talking about the whole of the area. The Central Business, I have 300 lepers that I pay them from our internally generated fund to also continue to sweep the streets of Accra. And that is why we think that the 1 year model arrangement, once it's given to a private, and I think that it is more efficient also when we give it to a private person. However, it is management and how the contract probably might be given. So we need to deal with that matter.
So, please run out because we want to hear Mr. Sion before we go.
So I have a few points. One, we should deal with the corruption in the sector, which previous speakers have mentioned. There is so much money going to the sector, so if we realign some of these contracts, you may end up realizing that you don't need extra people. If one year gives all this input to you, you'll be enough to sweep your streets and you save money. Two, the assemblies should be made to take charge of some of the services which they have the capacity to deliver. If you talk of the sanitation guards or the saman, they have what it takes to manage them. Three, I've talked about the breaking of the monopoly. And I've given an example of Manasseh landfills and also home landfills, where you have separate contractors, but when you go to the field, the kind of work that is done, there's a lot of difference there. Two, or the next point is that sanitation laws must be made to work. I always use this example in South Africa, where all of a sudden, a driver whose car was sitting in had to slow down. So I asked him why he's slowing down, there's no traffic. And he says, within this stretch, there are speed cameras. If I go beyond the speed limit, they are going to bring me a ticket. And because I work for a car rental company, I can even lose my job. So you realize that if there are systems to punish people who offend the law or break the law, things are going to work better. And these days, we read a lot about the AMA doing that. We should also let all the contracts or the sanitation projects, there should be something like an oversight responsibility from the sanitation ministries. Because as we speak, the YEA program is under the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. We have some sanitation contracts from the Ministry of Local Government, and we have some coming from the Ministry of Health. Then we have a fourth ministry sitting somewhere, Ministry of Sanitation.
Don't we have to just get rid of all these divisions and let them have other ministries? Why do we need 4 ministries to do sanitation? Clearing water.
So at the end of the day,
But they all remain
so you may have the problem is that you have all of them awarding sometimes similar contracts. So there's sometimes overlapping of contracts. So if they all come together under one ministry, say sanitation should take care of one, all the sanitation contracts should go to one ministry, or one ministry having an oversight responsibility, I'm sure at the end of the day we're going to get that. Then also existing contracts should be reviewed. There are too many sanitation contracts, and in a year we spend close to $1 billion on sanitation, but we don't get the results. If all of these are done, for me, monopoly, corruption, enforcement of the laws, I think this will work. Otherwise, I also agree that I have said it before that I don't think I'll ever take part in any communal cleaning exercise. I'll never do that because I know how much the nation pumps into sanitation, and if they don't work, it is not my responsibility to leave my job as a journalist and go and clean the streets.
Thank you very much. Now, you take some word of that today. It's interesting to me because what I learned from that was that we have that space we pay for sitting down, not distributed. Do we still have that problem? Do you know?
We do have, and it's all because of this multiplicity of contracts. There are some people who sit in Accra and make decisions for all the.
But hold on, the dustbins have been delivered.
They have been delivered. Some have been delivered.
So my question is, where are they? I'm hoping this mayor has some. Why don't they just distribute the dustbins?
Well, I think it's a question for me to answer. But when we went,
Does he have some?
that's I don't know.
It's been paid for, right? Not all have been paid for. So what stops us from distributing them? What stops us from distributing those dustbins?
Okay, well, I don't have.
Just be the keep them
I think we are alive already.
We are alive already, but we are alive. So the nation is
Thank you very much. My wonderful. I don't have all the facts about this, that being contractual, so I can't commit myself.
all right, then we'll stop there. But Azure, for the record, you reported that we have thousands possibly of dustbins that we haven't distributed.
That's across the country.
Yes.
Yes. And there are some districts that they have said they don't need the dustbins at all.
How can they not need dustbins when they have households?
Okay, let me explain. If you go to rural areas, and when I was still living at Zone 6, he spoke about, I had a very small container and we had a communal container. So anytime it was full, I had to get an dump it in a communal container. These are 240 liter dustbins. So the ordinary household in the rural area does not generate waste.
It's too big for them.
It's too big for them, so they are using it to store water.
Hold on. Can we redeploy the dustbins? By the way, we pay for those dustbins.
Those are assemblies you pay for all of them.
So, Mr. Minister, can we redeploy them into the cities where we need these dustbins?
First of all, we need a dustbin. Secondly, there was 1 million dustbins that was supposed to have been procured. There's controversy over how they procured. So that's what's not happening to speak. Until that's clear, and you go ahead and speak, then you go over us.
Quickly, what controversy is it that takes so long to resolve?
The procurement process. To the best of my understanding, the local government minister was supposed to authorize this procurement. Apparently, the local government minister at the time refused to sanction the procurement, and then orders were given from above as we spoke. And so everything was started. Because as far as I know.
So why don't you unstick it?
Sorry.
Unstick it. I mean, get the dustbins out there and let it be distributed. And let's pay for that.
As a new minister, we're trying to streamline all these things.
It's too long.
The problem with this contract, the problem with this contract goes back to the same issue I mentioned. It has to do with corruption. But the investigation Joy FM did, that contract has been bloated by at least $130 million cities.
By whom?
Okay?
Continue.
That is it. And the CID has stepped in and they are investigating this.
Thank you, because here's my point, please, Mr. Minister, I think, listen. Assuming without admission that what he's saying is true, okay, why don't you ring fence that problem, let the CID deal with it, and you'll distribute the dustbins?
Before the CID has reported on that?
Well,
But the judicial matter now.
no, point is this, he says it's an overload. Listen, it refers to a debt.
The CID has not
You should
reported.
CID.
It's not reported.
I mean,
How do I go grant it?
hear me, listen, we don't have the luxury to be able to say we're in a very cool situation. We have a crisis on our hands. Now, if we have gone to buy overpriced dustbins, and there is some issue on it, let the CID deal with whatever is a criminal issue. Well, but I'm saying, in the meantime, why do you leave the dustbin sitting there working?
No, there are two ways. Let me just explain. Please. There are two ways. The overbloated one has not been supplied yet. That's 1 million at least. But even before that overbloated contract was awarded, previous dustbins
Have not been supplied.
they were procured, supplied, and we went across the country, and you find thousands of them locked up in assemblies. Some have told us they don't even need it. So if you are talking about going ahead to distribute, what I think the ministry can do is to ask or recall those dustbins from the assemblies that do not have need for them, so that they distribute them.
Because of time, we'll move on to the next speaker.